Why are the new reports that fructose is the worst carbohydrate? Fructose came to the United States around 1972, the same time that Americans were encouraged to reduce fat in the diet. This time period corresponds to the beginning of foods with the deadly combination of hydrogenated oils and high fructose corn syrup. As a result, the incidence of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer also increased dramatically from then until now. We now know a lot more of how these toxins damage cells and promote many diseases. Studies in animals have documented that, compared with glucose, dietary fructose induces dyslipidemia and insulin resistance, which then causes inflammation and DNA damage that is linked to cancer, diabetes and other diseases. A study at Harvard Medical School was published in the 2001 The American Society for Nutritional Sciences about insulin, insulin-like growth factors and colon cancer. Human evidence also associates high levels of insulin and IGF-1 with increased risk of colon cancer. Researchers at Harvard found that insulin and insulin-like growth factor are major determinants of proliferation and apoptosis and thus may influence carcinogenesis. The dangers of fructose is not just fat accumulation, it creates a metabolic imbalance that is linked to cancer and diabetes. Sugar and high fructose corn syrup both supply a significant portion of the total calories in current Western diet. Glucose also comes from starches, and the liver can help release glucose for the cells when in need. Fructose is not produced by the body, it has to be ingested to produce fructose, and with our evolutionary history it has been used as a seasonal food source. Glucose and fructose are metabolized very differently by the body. Every cell in the body can use glucose, the liver is the only organ that can metabolize fructose in significant amounts. When people eat a diet that is high in calories and high in fructose, the liver gets overloaded and starts turning the fructose into fat. Excess fructose consumption can be a key driver of many serious diseases of modern day, including obesity, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune diseases, heart disease and cancer. The harmful effects of excess fructose makes the liver synthesize excess bad fats, which are exported as VLDL cholesterol, which leads to high lipid levels, fat in and around the organs and heart disease, increased blood levels of uric acid, leading to kidney stones, gout and elevated blood pressure. With fructose ingestion there is a deposition of fat in the liver, potentially leading to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, cause insulin resistance, which ultimately leads to obesity, causing more insulin resistance and prediabetes, and diabetes type 2. Insulin resistance leads to elevated insulin and insulin-like growth factor in the body, which may contribute to the development of cancer. Fructose leaves people feeling hungry since it does not suppress the normal biochemical pathway that tells the body to stop eating, so more calories are ingested and the vicious cycle continues. If there is insulin resistance, there may also be a feeling of hunger or fatigue. Excess fructose consumption may cause leptin and insulin resistance, put body fat regulation out of balance and contributing to obesity. Sugar and processed foods have an addictive consequence: leptin resistance, elevated insulin and vicious addictive cycles of cravings and binge eating are a recipe for fat gain and even greater obesity. Fructose-induced leptin resistance exacerbates weight gain in response to subsequent high-fat feeding. The consequence of these metabolic disorders is increased risk of cancer. Pancreatic cancer. A study published in the American journal Clinical Nutrition in 2006 showed that the consumption of sugar and sugar-sweetened foods and the risk of pancreatic cancer in a prospective study. They state that there is evidence indicates that hyperglycemia and hyperinsulinemia may be implicated in the development of pancreatic cancer. Frequent consumption of sugar and high sugar foods may increase the risk of pancreatic cancer by inducing frequent postprandial hyperglycemia, increasing insulin demand, and decreasing insulin sensitivity. During a mean follow-up of 7.2 years, they identified 131 incident cases of pancreatic cancer. The consumption of added sugar, soft drinks, and sweetened fruit soups or stewed fruit was positively associated with the risk of pancreatic cancer. Colon cancer risk. Many studies indicate that dietary patterns that stimulate insulin resistance or secretion, including high consumption of sucrose, various sources of starch, a high glycemic index and high saturated fatty acid intake, are associated with a higher risk of colon cancer. Although additional environmental and genetic factors affect colon cancer, the incidence of this malignancy was invariably low before the technological advances that rendered sedentary lifestyles and obesity common, and increased availability of highly processed carbohydrates and saturated fatty acids. Researchers are working on new ways to decipher how much sugar, lifestyle, and diet plays on a daily basis with cancer and diabetes. For more information on this and other related topics, go to www.diabeteshealthinstitute.org and www.cancer.im.